The RetroFighters Defender featured in today's review was provided courtesy of RetroFighters. Up until the release of the PS4, the only Sony controller I have enjoyed using was the original digital PS1 controller. The DualShock lineup was always a hand-cramping annoyance to the point that I'd rather deal with crappy early 2000s third-party controllers over them. By the end of the PS2 generation, my main PlayStation controllers were the wireless Logitechs, and while they worked, it was obvious they weren't performing the same as the awful originals. Fast forward a good 15 plus years later, and RetroFighters announced a Kickstarter for a new wireless PlayStation 1 and 2 controller option. Needless to say, I backed it immediately. And now, a good number of months later, the wireless Defenders are finally here for all to enjoy. It is no sensationalism to state that this is the best PlayStation controller available on the market today. The Defender comes in the traditional RetroFighters box, with the controller appearing on the front in a life-size glossy image. A smaller depiction is also present along the side. System compatibility with the PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 is also made abundantly clear. A nice hype paragraph for the controller and a list of key aspects is on the back. Opening the package, you will find your Defender, PlayStation receiver, USB-C charging cable, and a user manual. The first thing to note about the Defender is the quality jump it presents over other RetroFighters controllers. We have come a long way from the original Jab and Brawler 64s. Every detail of the controller is far more premium than what has come before. The first and most important in my book is how comfortable it is to hold and use, unlike original DualShock controllers. The shell plastic feels of higher quality, and the texturing on the back ensures a good grip even during the longest of gaming sessions. The clear buttons with recessed symbols are a cool aesthetic choice and feel great to the touch. Thumbsticks now have anti-friction rings to ensure smooth rotations, and the texturing on the caps functions well. The raised edges on the D-pad make it easy to hit each direction, and it rolls gloriously. The shoulder buttons sport a modern look over original PlayStation controllers, and I always appreciate having real triggers on a PlayStation controller. The glossy bevel around the entire shoulder button housing is another aesthetically pleasing touch. A number of extra buttons are present on the Defender, such as Turbo, Autofire, Screenshot, and Home. A USB-C port is also found on top for charging the internal battery. The PlayStation receiver isn't much bigger than the controller connector of the DualShock 2 and bears the RetroFighters branding and a number of fins to make it easy to insert and remove from PlayStation consoles. The USB receiver is identical to ones included with other wireless RetroFighters products. The Defender is a sturdy controller with a good weight to it. Thanks to the strong plastic, there should be no concerns over breaking it with normal everyday use. I am unable to find any points of give along the entire shell. Even for the not-so-normal use cases, the Defender takes its beatings like a champ and is still ready to play. Sometimes science hurts. Every function you would expect of a DualShock controller is present on the Defender, making it a perfect replacement for the entire PlayStation 1 and 2 libraries. Each face button, shoulder button, and D-pad is pressure sensitive and works better than the originals ever did for me. While not many games I played made the most use of the function, it's great to finally have it work as intended. I can't state how many times in Metal Gear I would fire unintentionally trying to use the pressure-sensitive method. I would start to just unequip the weapons instead of trying since it was so hit and miss. With the Defender, no misfires of any variety when trying to play the game as intended. A small thing, sure, but one that makes me smile as it gives the Defender better responsiveness compared to even the original DualShock 2, while being a million times more comfortable. Yes, I am always going to bag on the DualShock, I really hate using them. The addition of Turbo and Autofire buttons are also sure to delight many for any given use case. But it only gets better for the Defender from here. One of the biggest shortcomings of every third-party controller for the PS2 is overly sensitive analog sticks. In any number of shooters, using my long-owned wireless Logitech controller always resulted in a less than ideal experience. Part of the reason I always went to GameCube and Xbox for shooters, honestly. With the Defender though, sensitivity feels on par with the original DualShock. As a result, playing shooters on the world's most popular console no longer feels like a handicap compared to the other 6th-gen consoles. And with a controller that doesn't hurt my hands, so double plus! Loading up a controller tester, I was able to confirm my results. As a side note, it is really weird to me that Sony would design their controllers to hit max range before actually pushing the stick to the outer edge of its housing. Now for the third huge plus of the Defender, its shoulder buttons. While R1, L1 isn't much different from the traditional DualShock version, R2 and L2 being actual triggers makes a huge difference in a vast amount of my PlayStation library. Accelerating with Cross and Need for Speed Underground always felt like a downgrade compared to the GameCube and Xbox versions of the game. Even switching it to the shoulder buttons was less than ideal due to PS2 controllers not having real triggers to really nail the proper pressure levels. With the Defender, the game finally controls like the other 6th gen versions and is all the better for it. Shooters on PlayStation consoles also like to use R1 for firing, which is again opposite of what the GameCube and Xbox did. Though, to be fair, the OG Xbox only had one trigger. But with the Defender, switching over to R2 results in a very pleasing and more muscle memory inclined control scheme. The pressure sensitivity on all 4 shoulder buttons also feels perfect, and fine throttling in ace combat is a cinch. The D-pad on the Defender is the best I have ever used in my life. Every direction is flawless, and pulling off combos feels far easier than ever. A good number of PS1 games were made during the digital-only controller age, so they greatly benefit from the precision and responsiveness. When being used on a PlayStation 1 or 2, the home button on the Defender acts as the analog button from the DualShock, allowing you to easily swap the function. When you have the Defender set to digital mode, the left thumbstick will mirror the D-pad while the right mirrors the face buttons. This is a neat feature and one I appreciate in games like Air Combat to make it feel a bit more natural, even though you are still limited to the 8-way directions of the D-pad. I seriously can't get over how good the D-pad is to use on the Defender, so much so that I typically use it as my main emulation controller now on both my PC and Polymega with the included USB receiver. It is seriously perfect for the role. Thanks to that USB receiver, you can use the Defender on more than just a PC and Polymega though. PS3 is also one of the supported devices, and as such you get all the same benefits you get on the PS1 and 2 with improved performance over the DualShock. Unfortunately, there is no 6-axis implementation in the Defender, so it isn't the perfect DualShock 3 replacement like it is for the DualShock 2. But even without it, the Defender has become my go-to controller for the system, as the DualShock 3 is one of my most hated controllers of all time. So many stupid things about that controller, but I digress. The Switch is yet another device compatible with the Defender's USB receiver. It is picked up as a Pro controller with full remapping capabilities, making it a good option for players that prefer the PlayStation thumbstick layout. You also get that screenshot button so you can capture your gaming moments to share with others. With an OTG cable, the Defender should also work on Android phones, but I was not able to test this functionality. Owners of the PlayStation Classic rejoice, as the Defender is also fully compatible with it. As for the battery life during use, you can expect to get well over 11 to 12 hours of use off a single charge. Fully charging the controller takes a couple of hours, but it does remain fully usable while plugged in, so even when it dies during gameplay, I don't have to worry about downtime. Considering the Defender outperforms any third-party DualShock alternative I have ever used, and the ergonomics absolutely destroy the original DualShock, I have little to criticize on the Defender. Until I find a game that outright won't play with the controller, it is likely to stay that way. But with over 50 titles across the PS1 and 2 libraries, I have been nothing but impressed. No other third-party option to date that I have used comes close to what the Defender offers, making it a no-brainer to recommend to any PlayStation fan. With its premium design, good ergonomics, and performance in games, there is so much to love about it. Thanks to the inclusion of an additional USB receiver, the Defender also makes a capable controller for any number of devices like the PS3 and Switch. To put it simply, the RetroFighters Defender is the best PlayStation 1 and 2 controller on the market today. And that is the wireless Defender from RetroFighters, just an overall fantastic controller, and one that has instantly become one of my favorites. Big thank you to RetroFighters for sending this one out my way a bit early. I cannot wait to get the rest of my backer order, but it has been awesome just to spend the last little bit of time with this guy to make sure that this video was ready for launch. Just, again, I hope that the Defender treats you all as well as it has treated me. This thing has been so sick. But, anyway, thank you all so much for watching today's review. I hope you have found it interesting, informative, and maybe to check out the Defender, because it really is awesome. But here at the end of the video, I do have a couple of huge favors to ask. If you haven't done so already, please hit that thumbs up, thumbs down button, depending on how much you like this review, and hit that sub button notification bell so you can see when new content goes live on the channel. Loads of content in the pipeline, and I'd love to have each and every one of you along for the ride. For anyone interested in further helping support the channel, you can also check out that join button somewhere down here on YouTube, or the Patreon link that's going to pop up right here. Little goes a long way to keeping this place up and running and bringing this content to each and every one of you. Big shout out to all of our current backers. Thank you so much for believing what we do here and helping us keep it going for so long. Y'all are amazing. You're our champions. And that is why you all get this little heart symbol right here on the Patreon link. But until next time, my wonderful internet peeps, you all stay awesome, keep on gaming, and we'll see you back next video.